Hi everyone, welcome to this new Focus Friday video. My name is Red Reefer and today I'm going to talk to you about the Tang police. Who hasn't heard of them? So it's a bit of a thing where people ask how many fish can I keep in my aquarium, and then there's always bound to be someone that says this fish is too large for your tank, when probably they are sometimes right, and sometimes they are overreacting. So this video is just about that. Keeping fish in your tank is, of course, for us a very nice way to experience marine life on a very small macro scale. So that's great for us as people. But of course, for the fish, it's less than ideal, I'd say, because they're, instead of swimming in an ocean, they're swimming in a bathtub or something even smaller. So in the end, the discussion about how many fish can I keep in my tank, or is my tank big enough for this kind of fish, it's all a relative discussion. I wouldn't say there's definitely something how to say this, it's hard to tell if something is or isn't possible, since it's very much dependent on the situation. Of course, it doesn't make any sense to put a large fish that will become 20 centimeters long in a tank that is just 30 or 40 centimeters long. That makes sense. Anyone can think about that. But whether or not you can keep a certain fish, like for example the tanks, which we just mentioned with the tank police, can you keep a tang in a tank? Well, yes, you can. But how much space should you give him? For example, this blue hippo tang, they are very popular fish. They are known to be very twitchy. They can they react pretty much to everything, and they are good swimmers. They like to swim a lot. So what is a good size for this kind of tang? Well, I'm not going to give you the answer because I don't have the answer. For me, I think this tank is big enough, but other people might say no, you need at least 1,000 liters, so that's about 280 gallons or more for one of these fish to be happy. But then again, I also know people who have a 300 liter tank, so that's almost half this size, and they still think it's okay. It's behaving a little odd now. So if you're watching and you're from the tank police, please don't arrest me. For me, I think this is still okay. In the end, this fish will become even larger. In fact, I bought it when it was just a few centimeters long, and it has really exploded in growth in just a few months. So please be aware when you buy a tang. Please look if they are fast growers or not. So for example, this gray tang right here, the Termini Tail, it's hiding a bit. I've had this for a very long time, for about 2 years now, and it's still pretty small, as you can see, and it won't grow much larger than this, as far as I know. And it has been this size for about a year, so I'm not worried that it will grow a lot. This tang can probably stay in my tank for its entire life, since it's also a bit busy, but not too busy. This blue tang, I think it might eventually need to move out. When it becomes 1.5, 2 times bigger than this, then it will be a bit crowded for him in this tank. Since it's also dependent on the amount of livestock that you're keeping in your tank. So it's also a relative question, in the sense of, is this fish the only fish in your tank? Does it have all the space to himself? Then he can probably cope with a little less space. Is it the only tang in your tank, or are you adding more tanks? Then it will probably need its own territory. So the more fish you get, the harder it will be to keep more of them on the same 1.5 meter or smaller or larger, dependent on your tank size. So as most people might argue, if you're if a fish is, if it's possible to keep a certain fish in your tank, always look at these kind of aspects. So always bear in mind what kind of tank inhabitants do you have, where do they dwell, are they prominent on the front of your reef tank all day, then a Tang is probably going to interact with it a lot. If it's a smaller fish, like for example these small mandarin fish, then don't be bothered by it. It will just go its own way. It won't get in there. They won't get in their way. So my answer is really, don't rely too much on what people tell you on the internet. You might not even want to listen to me either. That's perfectly fine. Don't be bothered too much by the tank police, people telling you you can't keep a fish in your tank because it's too small. But always think about it yourself. Think about the fact that this is a marine fish, this is a live animal, it has feelings, and does it feel okay to put it in your tank? And when it is there, because eventually we all make mistakes as well, so sometimes you will have a fish which is indeed too large for your tank, and you will notice it will not be happy, it will get diseases, it will show weird behavior. Talking about weird behavior, it's acting pretty weird. And in the end, that might mean that you made a wrong decision, and that's fine. I mean, we're all human, we all make decisions. Sometimes we think about it a lot and it still goes wrong, and sometimes we don't think about it that much and it goes wrong anyway. So for me, I've been thinking about having a Hippo tank for a long time. I've considered it for about 2 years, and in the end I'm glad I bought one for my 500 liter tank, in the knowledge that it will grow rapidly, which it does. So again, there, point of warning, they will grow quickly. So when you buy one, you know they're going to be 15-20 centimeters in a year or two. But that's fine, as long as you know it, as long as you have a backup plan. So I always know that there are people in my surroundings who are interested in large fish. Also, I won't charge a lot of money when I want to relocate a fish, because I think the fish well-being is more important than me getting money for it. And I might eventually upgrade my tank. Not at the moment, because we're looking at different options for moving out, or moving to a different house at the moment. So at this point I'm not going to change or upgrade my tank. It's perfectly fine the way it is. But as you can see, and may have seen in my previous videos, my tank is well stocked with enough fish. I wouldn't add any more at this point, especially also considering there are some, like for example the Hippo tank, but also this spotted drum, which can grow quite large. So you don't want too many big fish competing against each other, while also keeping a coral reef, of course, since that's what we're doing here. So yeah, that's the main point I wanted to make. So takeaways: always think about what you're doing to the fish. Don't listen too much to what people are trying to tell you. If it's good advice, well, feel free to listen to it. If you think, well, I think otherwise, then don't be bothered too much by what people think. There are a lot of different opinions, and they're not always justified. So make up your own mind, think about fish well-being, and if you do that, then in the end you will have a nice and thriving tank with happy tank mates, and in the end that's what we all want. So I hope you enjoyed this, and otherwise have a nice weekend anyway.